Okay, let's talk about one of my favorite things to do, and it's called parting stuff out. And what do I mean by that? Sometimes the individual pieces of an item are worth more sold individually than the entire complete set together. People tend to lose parts for stuff. They need replacements. This is especially true with board games, stereos, blenders, all that sort of good stuff. They just need one tiny little piece to complete their set, and that's where you come in. So let's talk about that. Okay, so let me show you a game that I'm gonna part out. This game, oh, it's huge. Defenders of the Last Stand. It's a pretty big ass game. It's made by a guy named Richard Lanius and Jason Maxwell, all right? So I got this game. There was a warehouse in LA that had about 6 copies of it. I wasn't quite sure what it was. I'd never really heard of it. So I had to do some research on it. They gave them to me for about $10 a game. I felt like I overpaid a little bit, but it felt like a substantial game, so that's why I picked it up. I did a little bit of research, but when I got home, I opened them up and I found out that they were not necessarily complete sets. And initially I thought that we were good to go. You know, I had all the pieces, that sort of thing. So this was a purchase that I initially wasn't planning on parting out, but I ended up having to part out. Now I did have a couple complete sets of it that I did sell, but the last 2 especially, they are missing some pieces. But this game has a ton of pieces in it, a ton of little tiny pieces, so I can 100% see why this would be missing some pieces and why somebody would lose this too. So let me show you about parting out board games especially. So let's take a look at eBay here. So here we are, I typed in board game parts. So as you can see, people are selling all kinds of different parts. Now, this parting stuff out concept doesn't apply just to board games. It applies to stereo equipment, all kinds of sort of stuff. But I mean, take a look at this. 1969 Mark Bowl live action football board game parts. $18.50, free shipping. That's gotta be under $2 to ship. I mean, or right around $2 to ship. Super cheap. All these are like little tiny board game parts. Now, the more parts the game has, that's the more parts people can lose. And if it's a rare game, stuff that can't be replaced, then, you know, even better. So like I said, I bought this board game thinking I had all the parts. I had all the parts for most of them, but the last 2 I didn't. So I'm gonna part this out and I'm gonna show you all the pieces that this has a little bit later, and I'll kind of show you how I'm going to group them together and sell them, and then I will do a follow-up video so that way you can see how they did essentially. So I'll post that video later, but for now let's just deal with the present. All right, so Defenders of the Last Stand, I had to do a little research on it so I can kind of see what I'm dealing with, so I can kind of see, you know, how to part it out. But Richard Lanius here, I did a little research on him. He's had some best runner-up games. He's got a long history of making board games. He's got a little bit of a following essentially. Jason Maxwell I don't know too much about. He's the second guy on the game. So I did a little bit more research, and you know, especially when I was first buying this, I wanted to see what these are going for on Amazon, what they're going for on eBay, that sort of thing. Right now this is going for just about $80 on Amazon. Not a super popular game on Amazon, but a lot of the board game, dare I say, geeks are collectors of this sort of stuff, and chances are they already have this game, but chances are they're missing some pieces. So that's what I'm banking on with this. Now, I also looked on eBay just to kind of see what we're dealing with. eBay, it's $80, $70, right in there, and that's what a full complete set is going for. But I mean, take a look at this. This is an overhead view of all the pieces that are in this game. This is crazy. This has so many pieces. I mean, the boards, I don't even think they're showing the board in this picture, but there are a ton of pieces for this, a ton of these little tiles, a ton of these little guys, all sort of stuff, all different, pretty insane. Even a ton of dice. I mean, look at all the dice down there. But as you can see, this has a ton of pieces. Plenty of options, right? So here's the most important thing for this, is this was a Kickstarter game. This was launched on Kickstarter. If you're not familiar with Kickstarter, Kickstarter is a crowdfunding platform. So essentially somebody puts up an idea or a design or a product and says, hey, give me money for it. If you give me money, I will send you a copy of the game or send you something, or I'll mention you in the game, or all kinds of crazy stuff. So this had a goal of $50,000. they raised $84,000 for this game. So they cleared their goal by like $34,000. So pretty anticipated game. Now this, the funding for this, the funding period was in 2015. So it's about 5 years old at this point. So it's not something necessarily that you can just walk down and get at the store. Yes, you can get it on Amazon for right now, but not a ton of copies. You know, looking at Amazon, how many sellers do we have? 3 sellers. 3 sellers on Amazon, so not much at all. Rank says not a super popular game, but I have a feeling that, I don't know, something's telling me, man, there's people out there missing pieces for this game. So that's what I'm banking on. And that's really my only recourse at this point. I've bought games in the past that literally they were just missing pieces, and I got a heck of a discount on them because, like, I bought a Monopoly. It was a Navy themed Monopoly, like Army, Navy, that sort of thing, and it had Navy themed pieces. Now the board was totally missing. I picked this game up in the thrift store and it was 99 cents because it was missing everything. It had the box and it just had the pieces in it, and that was pretty much it. So I picked it up for 99 cents. I ended up selling the pieces for $20 shipped, and so it's just crazy, right? But I mean, how are you going to get Navy themed Monopoly pieces? How are you going to get those back, right? Without having to buy the whole game. So I've had some experience in this. I've also, what really cemented this idea for me is there was a video by the Craigslist Hunter, and I'm going to see if I can post that for you guys. I'm going to see if I can find it and post just the screenshot of it. I don't know the guy, but he has a lot of great information. He has a pawn shop himself, and he brings on a lot of stuff, but he did a whole video on a stereo, and he showed the stereo. And all I was thinking is, man, what a pain in the ass to ship that thing. But, you know, his thing was, why don't you take the knobs off it, the faceplate, that sort of thing. And his example was, I can sell this stereo for, I don't even remember what price, let's say $70, $80, or I can sell off the little pieces individually if I take the time and part it out and maybe make $700, $800 off the little pieces. So that really got me thinking about parting stuff out. So now when I'm out and about, I will definitely look for just selling off the little pieces. So yeah, that really brought it home for me. But all right, so let's take a look at this game, and I'm going to show you kind of how I'm going to bag it up and how I think I should part it out, and then we'll see what the response is. And like I said, I'll do an update later, and I will give you guys the solds hopefully in the future here on a follow-up video and show you what they sold for. But keep that in mind when you're looking at stuff. Part stuff out. Blenders, the blades, the cup that the thing goes in, the stopper, all that sort of stuff. Board games, can I sell the board game itself? Can I sell all the little individual pieces? All that stuff. So start thinking differently about sourcing stuff and start looking at parts. All right, let's go take a look at this game. So Defenders of the Last Stand. I'm gonna open up the box here, see what we're dealing with. Okay, so as you can see, a lot of individual little pieces, right? So I think here's how I'm going to tackle it. Luckily, the last person who had this apparently bagged everything individually and kind of grouped them for me. Now a lot of times you'll open up a box and they won't be all nice and neat like this, as far as they won't be labeled and in tiny bags and that sort of thing. But I was lucky enough that they are. Now I don't know if these are complete though. Like I don't know if these are actually, if they're, like this says 80 Defenders cards, I don't know if there's actually 80 in here. So I am going to have to take a look and see if that is the case. But here's kind of my thoughts on this. Now, if you don't have any sold listings to go buy on eBay to kind of model, you know, what you want to do, then kind of the rule of thumb is group the characters together and group the cards together separately, and then also sell like the individual pieces and put the dice together. So that's a lot of kind of what you'll see is you'll see, you know, specific parts together, and you'll see people group stuff by size. So a lot of times, like, I don't know if you could see these individual pieces. See how big these are? A lot of times you're not going to put them with these guys. These are a lot bigger pieces. These specifically have a role in the game that is different than, you know, these smaller pieces. And I know nothing about the game, but just having played board games in general, typically if you have a bigger piece, different rules apply to it. So that's kind of the rule of thumb when you do this. And You know, you want to keep it under 13 ounces or 16 ounces so that it can ship first class if possible. So whatever your grouping is, that's how you want to do it, is you want to make sure that, you know, it's not going to weigh over that. In general, you're probably not going to get over that unless you were to put all the cards together and all these together. Then you may clear it. But a lot of times with these games, the individual pieces are so light that you don't have to worry about that. So, like I said, it's a bit of an experiment. So, but traditionally, what you'll do is you'll start to group similar sized pieces together. So like I group these together. These I would sell separately. And then, you know, some of the other stuff that doesn't quite match up, like these little houses, you know, I might group with these individual pieces. I may put these together with the dice, but I'm going to experiment. But if you do have a game that you see online and you check the sold listings, a lot of times you'll have a little bit of guidance from past history. Just having looked at solds in the past, I can kind of tell you that that is kind of the game plan for a lot of the games. So what we'll do is as these sell, we may make adjustments. We may get requests from customers as well about, hey, can you group this with this, that sort of thing. So what I'll do is, like I said, is I will update you as this goes. So that way you can see the solds hopefully later, and we can learn from parting this out and see if maybe there was a better way to do it. But my hunch says that this is the right way to do it. So I'll have an update for you. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I will talk to you later. Bye.